Welcome to Environmental Law Explored, a podcast series, the podcast of the American Bar Association section of Environment, Energy, and Resources. SEER is a member organization whose mission is to foster the success of a diverse community of environmental, energy, and resources lawyers, advisors, law students, and decision makers, and provide a premier forum for the exchange of ideas and information.
Hello, welcome to our inaugural podcast listeners. You're joined today by the co-chairs of ABA SEER's Energy Committee. I'll begin with introducing myself. My name is Aaron Levine. I'm the Senior Legal and Regulatory Analyst at NREL, or the National Renewable Energy Lab, where I've been for a little over 12 years now. In addition to that, I've spent about 10 years in ABA SEER leadership, including serving as the former co-chair of the Renewable Alternative and Distributed Energy Resources Committee prior to the Energy Committee. I think the ABA is a great opportunity to meet a lot of fantastic people, and we're hoping that our members become more engaged as a result of our activities. We're also adding our favorite taglines today, and so mine truly is "the teamwork makes the dream work." With that, I'm going to pass it over to one of my co-chairs, Reve Smith, who is going to give us a little introduction to herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Reve Smith. I'm an attorney advisor at FERC, or the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, where I have been for a little over 2 years now. Prior to that, I was an attorney advisor at the DC Public Service Commission. I have been an active member of the ABA since law school, participating in the Young Lawyers Division. And now I've been a member of SEER for the past 3 years, where I've participated in the LDP and MDEP programs, the Leadership Development Program, which led me here to co-chairing the wonderful Energy Committee. You'll hear a lot more in depth from my other two co-chairs who have been around a little longer than me, but this year has been a learning experience and very promising. My favorite aspect of participating in the ABA is visiting different cities that I wouldn't probably go to just on my own. So having been to Nashville, looking forward to Seattle, Denver, other places that I just have gained a lot of exposure. My tagline is, if you shoot for the moon and miss, you'll land amongst the stars. That's what I live by.
Excellent. So my name's Liz Bogle, and I'm currently serving in my professional role as the Environmental and Regulatory Counsel at Standard Industries. This is an in-house counsel role. Prior to that, I spent the past 6.5 years doing private practice attorney work. And then prior to that, I used to be a scientist doing hazardous waste site cleanups throughout the country. I've been involved with the ABA now for a little over 5 years, and I've been in various leadership positions and roles, which have all led to my current role of co-chairing the Energy Committee with Reve and Aaron. I will say that one of my favorite aspects of being involved in the ABA and the Energy Committee has been meeting so many attorneys and professionals that share the same passions that I have about energy-related issues, not only in the United States, but throughout the world, and also bringing sustainability and renewable aspects into that. And I don't really necessarily have a tagline, but I will say that this is our call to action for anyone that's interested in joining the Energy Committee or looking to get more involved in leadership roles. So what we're going to be jumping into is discussing the 6 key issues that we came up with this year that we know are going to be the key issues leading into next year and probably the next 4 to 5 years. They're not going away anytime soon. So with that, I'll hand it off to my co-chair, Aaron Levine, who's going to talk about key issue number 1.
Great. Thanks, Liz. So our first key issue to kick us off is something that has become, I think, very important to the energy transition as a whole, and that is, where are we going to site renewable energy? And so this location of renewables discussion, and certainly as we see more and more renewable energy develop, particularly wind and solar, states, municipalities, and community members really need to determine what areas of land are suitable and permissible for developing renewable energy. Where are there land use conflicts? Where's the best place to site both this energy generating capacity as well as transmission. We've certainly heard over the years of NIMBYism and some of the concerns from the not in my backyard perspective, but they really go much beyond that in terms of, making sure that we're not citing these in communities that have been disproportionately impacted previously, making sure that everyone has access to energy. And this key issue really looks to help, developers, utilities and their representatives and attorneys understand what some of these considerations are, where projects are most conducive and compatible to current environments, as well as looking to some of what Congress has passed and looking at tax adders and credits that have been built in for low-income areas and other aspects of development of renewable energy. And so that is one of our key issues for the year. And with that, we'll move on to key issue number 2.
All right. Thanks so much, Aaron. So key issue number 2 is a combination key issue topic, and it's with decommissioning of energy projects and mining. So with decommissioning and mining practices, specifically within the renewable energy sector, there's significant scrutiny that's happening today, which I feel like everyone that would be listening to this understands that that's happening right now. So with billions of dollars invested in renewable energy projects, the entire industry is now working to establish proper decommissioning standards because they've now realized that that's an actual issue that needs to be tackled. And there's a lot of stakeholders that are questioning whether the renewable energy sector is going to be held to higher standards than, say, the petrochemical industry. Additionally, there's a lot of concerns that are arising around recycling commitments of the industry, particularly how much of a facility's components should be recycled after decommissioning. So, for example, take lithium-ion batteries for EVs or any batteries for any of the renewable energy projects. Are they going to come back to the industry and to the facility and say you need to recycle 50% of the battery when it comes to that end of stage life? Another related issue is the sourcing of materials required for these projects, specifically mining for rare earth minerals, which is an essential item for renewable energy generation and storage. And it has significant environmental implications and impacts. One of the issues is open pit mining. Yeah, that can have a lasting impact on surrounding communities and ecosystems if it's not properly managed. And now there's this new level of consideration with investors, where investors are looking at the facilities, at the company's ESG goals, and they're pushing for higher sourcing standards and really demanding that companies minimize adverse impacts associated with the mining of these essential resources. So taking that into consideration, what our idea for this was to bring in other professionals in the Energy Committee that are in the space to really expand on the issues of decommissioning and mining and create a space for discussion and to create content around these specific topics for the Energy Committee so that we can give more information to attorneys that are in the space here. And with that, I'll hand it over to Hervé.
Thank you so much, Liz. Key issue 3 and 4, I'm going to talk about them kind of together in tandem, are environmental justice and distribution of funding. Distribution of funding, that key issue, we understand, is a broad issue that can be addressed to the decommission of mining and other key issues. So we don't want to limit it to think that, talking about government funding and the allocation of private resources would be specific just to environmental justice, but I'm going to talk about them in that context. Environmental justice is a concept that has become far more popular in the last couple of years, but has been around for at least the last 30 years or so. And many of us have heard about it through, in 2021, the Biden administration's Executive Order 14008, which is tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad, where the Justice 40 initiative was development and a whole government approach, which mandates that at least 40% of the benefits of certain federal investments must flow to disadvantaged communities. I want to highlight for anyone listening that has heard environmental justice, but may not be exactly sure what it was, that environmental justice was actually developed or defined rather by Executive Order 12898 in 1994. And I just want to give you guys the definition that environmental justice is the just treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of income, race, color, national origin, tribal affiliation, or disability, in agency decision-making and other federal activities that affect human health and environment, so that people are fully protected from disproportionate and adverse human health and environmental effects. And also to ensure that people have equitable access to healthy, sustainable, and resilient environments in which they can live, work, play, grow, worship, and engage in cultural and subsistence practices. In line with the Justice 40 initiative, we wanted to highlight some of the things that have occurred, policies that have occurred more recently since 2021. If you work in government like myself, you may have saw an EJ office pop up in your agency. The development, I know that FERC developed an Office of Environmental Justice to begin to look at environmental justice and also this concept of energy justice specifically, which DOE defines as the goal of achieving equity in both social and economic participation in the energy system, while remediating social, economic, and health burdens on those disproportionately harmed by the energy system. So FERC developed an environmental justice office. DOJ just celebrated 2 years of their environmental justice office and policy, their agency-wide environmental justice policy. Of course, EPA has always been, a driver and supporter of environmental justice initiatives, but I just wanted to highlight some of those agencies and the fact that they have been cross-collaborating, to provide that information, to take a look at energy justice specifically and how it affects us as a whole. Some of the programs as it pertains to the distribution of funding through the Justice 40 initiative that the DOE's Office of Energy Justice and Equity has launched include in the Gulf South, which has notoriously been an area of significant environmental justice and energy justice concerns. They developed a regional energy democracy initiative, which was a $5 million pledge that to design and provide capacity building and technical assistance for communities in the Gulf South to maximize the benefit derived from clean energy investments that would be made by DOE. Those communities in the Gulf South, which include Texas and Louisiana, have been historically disadvantaged. So that initiative was really major in attempting to address it. There's also the Low Income Communities Bonus Credit Program, which is a program that is supported by IRA funds, the Inflation Reduction Act, to promote clean energy investments in low-income communities on tribal lands and within affordable housing. The program provides a 10 or 20% point credit increase to the investment tax credit for which solar or wind energy facilities that are less than 5 megawatts were placed on buildings. So those just highlight a few of the programs where funds, I guess you can say our tax dollars have been going to support clean energy initiatives and also environment and energy justice initiatives. I will pass it back to Aaron.
Thank you. Our fifth key issue this year is somewhat related to the first key issue that I described, and that is electric infrastructure development, and really how will states, utilities, and other agencies and communities decide whether to invest and where to invest in electric infrastructure. Certainly, we know that our grid has seen better days, and there is a lot of need for grid modernization, particularly in light of the amount of variable renewable energy, such as wind and solar, and storage to support that variable renewable comes on the grid. And so really with this issue, we're looking at will states, utilities, and others be proactive about updating their infrastructure to accommodate an injection of renewable energy onto the grid? Will special programs be created to ensure that historically marginalized communities will have access to the renewable energy that does get developed? And really, this is at the crux, particularly the grid side of this, is at the crux of our energy transition. I mean, really, in order to reach a lot of communities with the solar, wind, and other resources we have, we're going to develop new infrastructure. Right now, we have a lot of stranded wind and solar that are in areas where you don't have a load center or a community that can use that electricity. And so moving forward, we really need to be focused on comprehensive planning and being proactive to make sure that we have transmission in locations that we can get renewable energy to these load centers, to the communities, to support them with clean renewable energy. And with that, I'll pass it over to Liz to cover our last key issue for the year.
So the last key issue for the year is that of international standards. And I'm going to keep it pretty brief, but this is a very heavy-hitting topic. And really what we're looking at here is there's a lot of international standards and policies that are crucial to achieving a cohesive global approach towards renewable energy adoption, and also just in general with renewable energy infrastructure and energy infrastructure, and giving energy to people that are in need of it and fostering better energy for the general public. So really establishing consistent international guidelines is really imperative to stimulate the global market while also ensuring regional energy security. And we're seeing energy security issues crop up with a lot of the climate issues that we're having and throughout the world, not just the United States. For instance, one of the big issues is cross-border electricity markets and transmission lines need to be carefully regulated so that each participating country can maintain energy security. To accelerate adoption, there's a lot of grants and investment programs that are being developed to encourage energy infrastructure in less developed regions, specifically renewable energy infrastructure. And those programs are really aimed to reduce global disparities in access to renewable energy and helping both developed and developing countries transition towards more sustainable energy futures rather than going the fossil fuel route and then trying to transition to renewable energy. So with that, our goal with international standards was to generate traction with professionals in the United States, in Canada, in the Americas, to discuss what's happened throughout the world and how those policies could potentially impact our practice areas in the United States and in this landscape, especially things that have happened in the European Union, things that are happening right now in other countries and other continents, and seeing how can we implement policies here in the U.S. that might actually work for our energy infrastructure. And with that, I will hand it back over to Aaron to do our conclusions.
Thanks, Liz. Yeah, I really wanted to call attention to some upcoming events, opportunities, and other educational products that'll be coming out of our committee and more broadly out of the section. So for those of you who are familiar, SEER puts on both a spring and a fall conference every year. We just wrapped up a great spring conference a few weeks back in Chicago. Our next conference is going to be fall conference in Seattle. As a member of the planning committee, I can let you all know that we've currently set out our objectives and our panels, and we are starting to reach out to speakers that we've identified. So for those interested, we will be finalizing our program for fall conference with speakers and our panels over the next couple months. So certainly look out for that, and an exciting conference we'll be having in Seattle this fall. Another thing I wanted to put out there is that the Energy Committee is beginning to look for vice chairs for next year, including those to lead year-end review, which is a big undertaking by the section to provide a snapshot of what's occurred within each of our committees and the industry more broadly in the last year, as well as developing committee articles, programs, and other roles the vice chairs play. In that vein, SEER is holding a virtual committee fair on June 11th to learn more about the benefits of committee involvement and what opportunities may exist. So I certainly encourage folks to tune in for that virtual opportunity on June 11th to learn more about all of the committees that are under the SEER umbrella and how you can become more involved. And then finally, on the vein of year-end review, we had a very robust chapter this year. I think it was close to 25 pages on what occurred in the energy sector over the last year. So really excited to share that with our membership. And with that, I'll pass it over to Liz to round us out today.
Really quickly, I just wanted to highlight, I forgot to mention this to the group and to anybody listening. This is true Reveille form to interject. But we are the ABA SEER section in conjunction with the Environmental Justice Task Force is having an ABA SEER Environmental Justice Symposium and Service Day this November at Howard University. The day, it'll either be the 14th, 15th, 16th. We're a little bit early to figure that out, but I just want anybody who's listening who is interested in those topics to know about it and to keep an eye out for the invitation and flyers that will follow so that you can come and learn more, contribute your resources. So sorry about that, Liz.
Oh, and don't apologize. I know none of you can see us, but I have a big smile on my face because that is true Reveille fashion, and we love it. So as we wrap up today, I do want to emphasize the importance of continued discussion in these key issues. The Energy Committee is actively seeking to broaden its membership base, as well as its leadership roles to include a more diverse group of voices within the committee. And our goal with Reveille, Aaron, and I has been always, since the beginning of this year, to bring together experts, practitioners, and stakeholders to engage in meaningful conversations about the energy issues discussed here today, and really to facilitate these exchanges and to discuss leadership opportunities. We are planning, on top of the June 11th committee meeting that Aaron mentioned, the Energy Committee is separately planning to host an Energy Committee meet and greet for anyone that is interested in joining the Energy Committee. And this virtual gathering will provide a platform for members and non-members to share insights and ideas, ask questions, and to foster that collaboration on how to further the initiatives of the Energy Committee, as well as to answer any and all questions that people may have on potential leadership opportunities for the 2024 to 2025 year. So please stay tuned for further details on this upcoming event, which right now is tentatively scheduled for the end of June. So we will have that posted once we get the firm date on SEER communities, as well as on LinkedIn, all of those platforms that we can post to. And really at the end of this, my tagline is, together, we can continue to drive innovation and progress in energy policy and practice. We have to stay together in this and work together moving forward. And with that, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll be hearing from you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. To learn more about our section, please visit our website at www.americanbar.org/enviro. Please check where you found us for future episodes. Thank you for listening.